Hello, welcome. I'm so excited to connect with you today and share with you about the Soul Art certification. And I've got a special announcement as well that I will be sharing towards the end of this. So stick around. It's super juicy, definitely worth it. So this morning I was getting ready to be here today and share about the Soul Art certification. And I was getting so emotional because I was remembering and reflecting and revisiting just the journey of the soul art certification and the soul art work. So I'm so honored and really humbled to be able to speak about this with you today. So what we're going to be doing, I invite you to just kind of settle in. I'm going to be sharing some stories, and hopefully you'll get a spark of inspiration and insight through the things that come through. And also listening within yourself if the soul art certification is the next portal for your huge breakthrough and leap and growth and evolution for your creative spiritual path. So welcome. I am Laura Hollick. I'm the creator of the Soul Art Work, the Soul Art Certification, founder of Soul Art Studio, creator of International Soul Art Day and Soul Art School. And I want to share a little bit of my own journey in this, of how it came to be, really the origin of soul art, and then see how you can start to, feel yourself within this, because this body of work is something that came through me and healed me. When I started, this was my own healing journey. It was not about anybody else. I wasn't doing this like, oh, what can I do to, create this thing? And that wasn't how it happened at all. And I think that when we do something that is of our own unique expression, there's a story to how that comes to be, right? Like it has its own mythology to it, how something very sacred comes into the world. And for myself, it really goes back to childhood. So I'm going to share a little bit of this, and this is just for us to land in this space. And I'd love for you, my invitation for you is just to start to feel into what your own calling to this work is. And that will start to reveal to you kind of where your path can go and unfold, right? Because the soul art certification, yes, it is a program. It is a transformational experience, but ultimately it is about you claiming the next expression and embodiment in your life, why you came to this planet, right? It's like there's so much medicine and so much purpose woven into it, and the stuff that will come through you that as I go back into my childhood and start to share a little bit about that, I'd love for you to be reflecting for yourself, your own childhood, and maybe what is in the roots and the foundation of why you may even want to be doing this type of sacred work. Okay. So when I was a kid, I came into this world, and there's pictures of me, like this is me as a kid. I'm always kind of looking off, looking off into the distance somehow, and sort of in my own little world. And I remember often feeling that, I was always kind of trying to figure out this place. I didn't quite fit in, and creating things like unicorns and rainbows and drawing and imagining worlds was a way for me to be here. And so as a kid, my imagination really was the place where I felt the most at home, because I didn't quite know how to connect, resonate with others. And I had a hard time learning how to read, and just different things where I was kind of struggling to be here in many ways. And so my art and imagination, well, really my imagination first, before I could even do art, I would go into this realm, and it felt like home to me. And my body would relax. I'd feel like I was beautiful. I felt like I was loved. I was cherished. It was so magical. And there was a point in my childhood when I learned about art. Like I went to some camp or something, and we had the chance to do some art. And I was thinking, you mean you can make your imagination real? Because that meant if my imagination could be real, then I could be at home in this world. I could make my home here. I could make anything happen. I could create my dreams. I could, make dreams reality. And so art became a way for my soul, my spirit, to really be here. And that gave me a certain kind of foundation and a certain kind of a relationship with the unseen world that I didn't fully understand or think about at the time, but it was more just like that's what was happening. And I was very connected, it felt like, with these magical realms. And so I'm going along my life in childhood, and then in high school, I had a lot of great friends in high school, and it was definitely a great time in a certain way. But there was also a struggle that was going along with it where I was very increasingly becoming uncomfortable in my body image, self-consciousness. I had acne. I was really scared of people looking at me. I felt ugly. And I really just was coping. I had friends and, could do things, but I was retreating into inside because I felt scared in the world. I felt like ugly. And to me, when I had spent so much time with beauty and imagination, the idea of feeling and being ugly was very torturous to me. It just felt like it wasn't true to what my soul is and knows. And so I kept on with my art path, went to university for fine art, got an honors fine art degree. And then when I came out, I was like, oh my gosh, what am I going to do? And I still was dealing with acne. And I remember I got this little studio and I was just thinking to myself, and I'm asking these questions like, what am I supposed to do with my life? Like, how am I going to make money? What am I going to do? I'm scared of this. I don't know how to deal with this. There's too much pressure. I'm overwhelmed. I mean, who wants my art? I was just like questions, living in these questions and just sort of spinning in that uncertainty and chaos in a way, even though it might have looked like I was just, things weren't not a lot was happening, but internally the chaos of not knowing how to thrive in this world. And really the first layer of that, money was a piece of it, but the first layer was dealing with my skin. And so there was this one day I was in my little studio, the old stone gallery. It was a cool little studio near Webster's Falls in Canada. And I had these art boards. Actually, see the white square in the back? Exactly that size, and exactly, it was painted white. And I had this art board, and I put it on the floor, and I was just sitting on it, and I started to stretch. And as I was stretching, I just looked out, and I thought to myself, well, this is like a cool shape here on my body, and I just started to trace it. And so I want to show you just a little video. This is a reenactment of the tracing, because I actually did it on like a 4x4 board. But this is the exact origin of soul art, this moment when this happened, where I sat on this board, I stretched my legs, I traced it, I looked at it, and I was like, I'm going to do something with this. And as I started working, it turned into this red bird. And this set me on this path where I started body mapping. I started tracing all these different aspects of my body and discovering there was an entire world within me, which I already had contact with as a kid, but I was bringing it to life. I was understanding it. And suddenly this entire mythology that was within me started to give me a map of how to heal my skin. And the map was not the kind of map. I had gone to the doctors. I had done all the various things, read the different articles and at the time magazines and all these things, learned about this and that. That it wasn't, I tried all those things. This was something deeper. There was a deeper thing going on. And as I tapped into this inner mythology, suddenly it was my soul language. And suddenly my soul was giving me guidance that made sense to me in the poetic language of how I think and what makes sense for me, personalized to me. And bit by bit, as I started to decode what my art was saying from this mythology of my body, my inner world, my soul, I started to understand it. And I could speak with my soul. I could actually dialogue with it. I could communicate with it. And I was getting guidance. It was like having your higher self as your mentor, your guide, your healer, your coach. your friend. And in that dynamic, in that relationship, I started to heal. I started to heal, and I started to get a certain kind of courage, a courage that turns into a type of confidence. But this courage was coming from the fact of I was tapped into something that was supporting me. Something that was supporting me, not a version of me of who I was like, someone thinks I should be, supporting who I am. And with that support, there's courage. You can be courageous because you feel like there's something there holding you. You believe in yourself. And it's so interesting. People who knew me before soul art, and then after, I'm the same person inside, but I'm a completely different person in how I express in the world and how I am in the world. Because once that inner world was tapped and I spent time with it and I learned how to understand it and act on the guidance it was giving to me, my life started to reflect externally what the magic that I was tapping into internally. And so my skin, which was kind of like that barrier between the inner and the outer world, my soul could come through that. And so it was quite a miraculous thing. And then through that, it was a profound healing and transformation, like an alchemical, recreation of myself in this world. And then suddenly I feel like I had this spot where it's like, I belong to myself. And in belonging to myself, I can find a space in this world. And so, that was the beginning of the soul art work. And once I had gone through that and spent years working on that, years going through that process, I wondered, would the processes that had healed and transformed me so profoundly, would they work for anybody else? Would they work for anybody else? And so I started doing these workshops and these classes, and I was using the processes that really had been taught to me by spirit. I see spirit has been my teacher in the process and to be able to bring this work through. And I was vulnerable enough, open enough, susceptible enough to the nuance of the energetic guidance that it could come through me. And so I started to do these workshops and classes and offer guiding the processes that I had using the body initially as an entry point to go in to how to elicit that inner world communication, how to tap into soul. And every single person that I was guiding and that was going through these processes was having breakthrough after breakthrough after breakthrough. I was blown away. I was so blown away. I was just like, wow, this is incredible. And so over time, I started to expand that. And then when really the internet really, came out in a way with social media and it was available to the mainstream, I dove in and I was like, I want to, see, can this connect in the world? And so around 15 years ago, I did the very first International Soul Art Day. And this was really putting soul art out into the world with one of the soul art processes and seeing what happened. And that first year that we did it, there were just thousands of people showed up. And now we've had 13 International Soul Art Days. We had a little bit of a break with the pandemic, but there's been 13 International Soul Art Days. And throughout that, just tens of thousands of people have gone through, and there's a gallery of people who have gone through a soul art process and the insights, the transformations, the breakthroughs, the connection to soul, the intuition. Blows my mind, truly blows my mind. It is so special. It is so sacred. And so over 10 years ago, I started to teach people these processes so that they could really understand it for themselves, really get it so it becomes theirs. And understanding it so deeply, how that kind of like the constellation of the process works. Because there is there is a divine movement for creation energy. There's a divine movement. There's an energy flow. And when we learn how that energy moves, we can navigate through for healing, for transformation, for breakthrough. So I started to teach people these processes, and that became the soul art certification. And so the soul art certification it's almost like a divine cosmic womb space, a deep primal galactic womb space where you go through your own remembering, your own reconnection with your soul, and your ability to actually bring it through you using these processes. And as you do that, you get a transformation. More of your soul, more of your light comes through you. So just like it had healed my skin back, way back, this is decades ago, I really believe it is because more light of my soul came through. And I didn't have the barriers anymore, the fears, the limiting beliefs that were really putting that barrier up for me at that time. Like my soul just radiated through it. It just moved through it, and it revealed a new expression of who I am. And so going through the soul art certification, that's what is available for you when you go into that journey. It is a journey, a deep spiritual creative journey. And so in that process, you have your transformation. And from that, you learn how to guide other people, because you then hold the codes of your own soul in you. And when I think about leadership and I think about creative guidance, right? And there's different kinds of leaders. There's different kinds of, coaches and guides and healers. There's so many different types. But really, the ones that create transformation, they themselves are holding within them a certain embodiment of a frequency that it creates a space. And that space then enables things to happen. And so when you go through the soul art process and you bring more of your soul into you, you hold that embodiment of your soul. And that puts you in the position naturally of being a leader. Because it's like you're a lighthouse. Suddenly you're a lighthouse, and the lighthouse, people get illuminated by the lighthouse. So when more of your soul is coming through you, you're a natural leader and a natural guide. And then in the soul art certification, you having that embodiment, you go through that process for yourself, but then you also learn that process so that you can share and guide that with other people. So whether you already are a coach or you're an embodiment leader, like you do yoga, you do dance, you do these different things with the body, or you're some kind of a therapist, including this process in what you are doing can take what you're doing to a whole other level, right? So that's the aspect of the certification. You're going on your journey, and then also you're learning something that if you choose, you can turn that into a career, being a soul art guide, or you can add it to things that you're already doing, include it in your coaching practice and things like that. So with the soul art certification, so just sharing a little bit about that origin story, there's a little bit more to it because that was the first layer and there's many layers. So I've been doing soul art since 1999. 1999 is when that origin story happened, okay? And so this has been decades. Now through those decades, I had that initial epic breakthrough, epic transformation where my life just looked different. I opened up new things. I started a radio show, then I was in a dance company, and then, I got this studio. There's just been so many things that have opened up from that initial awakening in many ways. But there's also been a lot of challenges as well. And every time in my life when I'm faced with a challenge, soul art is, I go to a soul art process because and it never gets old. It's timeless. It's totally timeless. It's not a trend. It's not a trend. It's not this hot thing for, a moment, and it's like, then there's the next thing. It's like, it's the thing that keeps the connection deepening and deepening and deepening. And so every time a new challenge comes my way, I turn to the soul art process and processes. There's more than one in the certification. In the level one, which I'm going to be speaking about today, you focus on one, which is the body mapping. But throughout my life, I keep returning to it. And, I've had different health things that have come up over the years, and I bring it to the soul art and I get guidance, and I get information. I get information about what is this asking of me spiritually? What is my spiritual assignment within what's going on? And when I've had money challenges, when I was first starting, I had no idea about business and entrepreneurship. I was just like, it felt like a whole foreign language to me to figure that stuff out. I brought it to my soul art. I went in there and I got communication that was specific for me. And now I run a business, and, there's different kinds of marketing things that go out and different ways of presenting things in the world, whether it's International Soul Art Day or, a Yoni Art Fest or the Global Vision Quest or New Icon, all these different things. They, if someone was going to do sort of a fossilized X-ray, at the root of it, it would be soul art. Because going into a soul art journey is what gives me the vision and the guidance and the branding or the marketing strategies or the money approach, or, all the different things. It's soul art is in the root. And so I often say, soul art is one of the best tools or assets any entrepreneur could have to have in your toolkit. A way of connecting with a higher guidance, your intuition, your ability to discern and make decisions, to hear what is your path, and to know what's your path, and also to know what is healing and what you need to be focused on and supporting and, working on to bring your visions to life. So I want to share another couple of clips just of the journey of the art. So once that red bird came through, right? So I did the body mapping, I do my legs, I get into the mythology, this red bird emerges, and that red bird took me on a journey for sure. And I want to just share a couple of things about this red bird. It became one of my spirit guides, something that was, I could always connect with it. I could always kind of go back to that. It was like the door into the inner world was this red bird. And so that collage was the first piece. But then I started to really see how I could bring it more and more to life, and really getting into the red and just the color, the medicine of the color red, and the root, how to get into the root of that connection. And so I started to build a relationship with this red bird. And I felt like it could take me places, as it already had, but throughout my life in different chapters, different challenges, I kept tapping into that red bird. And it evolved my art. My art really became about embodiment, really bringing soul and spirit into the body, expressing. So the art was the first piece, but then it really became like being the art, because through body mapping, it really reveals how much is within us, how much depth we have within us. And so these are a couple of my art creations and expressions, really inspired by the red bird. And it's just amazing how when you tap into something, what it can open up for you that you could never even really imagine. Like, it takes you to the places where your path is. And so a big part of my own path has been like an embodiment art, expression, bringing soul into form, bringing imagination into reality, getting into the sensuality, letting the light codes of spirit enter the cells, upgrade the DNA, really feeling that. Yeah, it's very inspiring for me to see that. I hope that inspires you as well. But there's a little bit more I want to share too. And this is the idea, kind of going back to what I was sharing in the beginning when I was a child. And again, I invite you to think about yourself as a child. What lit you up? What was it that was magical to you, that you loved, that inspired you, right? And for me as a child, really going into my imagination, because I could connect with these other realms, going into my imagination. And so as I got the tools of soul art and really learning the processes of mapping creation, essentially, mapping that channel between spirit and form, right? Some people might call that manifestation. I think it's creation. I think it's like, how does something go from invisible to visible, an idea to reality, a dream to living it, right? And so once I developed and worked with those processes to work that channel, right, from dream to reality, my art, all that imagination as a child, I was able to start really creating art with it. And I want to share a couple pieces that I've created over the years, really turning imagination, like the inner world, into a real embodied expression. Bringing the unicorns and the dragons, the magical energy, the rainbow, bringing these things to life, working with them like spirit guides, and letting the art evolve and grow and take on its own unique flavor, which is what naturally happens when you go into the soul artwork. Your own unique style comes through. And I love working with nature, pure nature, and the elements and colors, making things with my hands, the textures, shapes, dreams to reality, and really rooting in spirit in this realm. The rainbow bird. So really the rainbow bird has become a symbol for the soul art certification because, it started the origin with that red bird, but really through the layers and layers and decades of journeying into the timelessness of it, really the full rainbow spectrum has emerged. And it feels like a spirit guide for many people, thousands of people on the planet, to really tap into that uniqueness within yourself. And so I invite you to just ponder for yourself, the things that are calling you in your life right now. And often our next big breakthrough, our next big evolution is a partnership between our greatest challenge and our deepest desire. And the blend of those two things is a brilliant alchemy to go into a soul art journey. Because to go into a soul art journey, there is surely something in you that you are desiring, a deep desire that's yours, that is totally yours, right? It has the imprint of your soul, like the fingerprint of your soul, just right on that, just right on it. It's yours. Now, then in our human life, there are challenges. There are struggles. Now, when I, had the acne, and then there's the money things, and then there's like issues with this and that, and there's all these different things. I mean, nobody wants a challenge, right? Like, who wants these struggles? I certainly, on my human level, didn't want it. But on a soul level, I see the genius of it. And now as challenges come about, even though it's not like I want them, I understand their value. And so I want to invite you to really invite in and consider whatever challenges you're facing in your life, that they somehow are part of the alchemy of your evolution in a genius way. And so often a door into a soul art journey, especially the soul art certification, can come with there could be something major going on in your life right now. right? I work with rainbows and I work with unicorns and magical things, which I can bliss out on it. I love it. I also, and I value that. I don't see that as silly in any way. There's value to it. It's like a vibration that is like beautiful. I cherish that. At the same time, I also am no stranger to the challenge, the difficulty, and so going into these journeys, it is like there is almost a divine love affair between different energies of desires and different struggles, and it got me thinking about this year on the planet and what is happening for us, humanity on this planet right now, where there's so much uncertainty, there's so much insecurity. And we have a celebrity culture, which creates a lot of externalization, sort of like and then the not enough or too much. And there's a whole web of belief systems that kind of perpetually put people in a place where they're not valued or they're not valuing themselves. And there's a scarcity. And so there's like a perpetuation of that. And then yet the soul knows the truth of abundance. And so there's like kind of this contrast that goes on. And so, right now on the planet, when there is all of this insecurity and uncertainty, really it is the call to go deeper. Because that's the perfect challenge to bring forth the deeper desire. Now, something that I noticed within myself as I was feeling that, like the world is like unsteady in a way. It's like, where do you put your foot down when it's unsteady? And I was I was like trying to tune in and figure that out, and brought it to a soul art journey, right? And where the soul art journey took me to, when I was really asking those questions about what's going on the planet right now and what to do, the messages that I got, and I'd like to share this with you, is that it's almost exploring where does security actually come from? What is the real root that creates support? And I feel like right now on the planet where there is so much uncertainty and insecurity, it's almost like we're being invited to remember the deeper root that we can connect to, that we can access. But in many ways, we're a little disconnected from it just as a society through things like celebrity culture and the scarcity and the not enoughness and not valuing creativity, not valuing the feminine and all those things. And so, right there, it's almost like there's that opportunity for the spiritual assignment. The challenge creates the opportunity to deepen and so on. So there's many layers in that. We can go into it if that was your calling to do that. But I just wanted to bring that forward to, again, start to feel into the calling of the soul art certification and giving it a bit more of a fuller picture of where does it come from? What is it? Why would somebody want to do this? Why would someone want to do this kind of a journey? And someone would want to do this kind of a journey for many reasons. I'll list a couple of them, see if you can identify yourself in any of these. Someone would want to do the soul art certification because they want a container, something to hold them, something to hold you while you go through your transformation, and you have guidance and you're held to do that. You're supported and held to do it. A space where you can kind of like go and sort of like alchemize, right? Something's holding you, a space is holding you, a sacred space is holding you. And so that's one reason someone would want to do it, just to feel like, okay, something, I need a space to be held and to be guided and just to let me find myself, let me remember, right? Another reason someone would want to do it is really because they have something in them. If you have something in you and you're just like, I want this to get out, I'm getting spiritually bloated with this, what I have inside of me, and I want to get it out. I want to figure out how to get it out. I have ideas, but I don't know how to get it through. Learn the processes to get it through. The soul art certification will teach you how to go from dream to reality, invisible spirit energy to embodied earth reality. So that would be another reason why someone would want to do the soul art certification. And then also, of course, the healing aspect, being faced with whether it's chronic illness, the insecurities of life, relationship issues, all the different things where it's like, where do you get answers for these things when they're not out there because you have a unique answer to your challenges. And so wanting to heal and wanting to get guidance for your life, having intuition, being able to trust yourself, having the courage and the confidence, feeling that support, right? Accessing that and strengthening that, toning your spiritual muscles, getting strong as an artist where your own unique voice can come through. Who you are, your own expression. I shared my unique expression, but one of the things that I love about the soul art certification and soul art school and all the soul art work is that everybody looks unique to them. And that's the point. It's not the kind of place where you come in and everybody kind of comes out looking the same. People go out and they are who they are. Right? And that's a reason to want to do the certification, that you get to become yourself, to find out what your beauty is, what your uniqueness is, what your expression is, and fall in love with it because it'll resonate with the sacred geometry of who you really are. So that's a reason to want to do the certification. And then also, I feel like this aspect of the career, if you choose, you can guide soul art journeys. And everyone who goes through the certification and completes it, 100% of the people who complete it and get certified have made money guiding a soul art journey. Because one of the classes, actually, you're learning how to connect money and receive money for guiding a journey. And so there's this career aspect, if you choose that, if you want that, to offer soul art journeys for people as a guide. So whether you're wanting to start fresh and do that, or if you're already a healer, you're already a coach, you're already an art therapist, you're already a yoga teacher, you're already a dance artist, and you're wanting to guide a workshop and you want a process that's going to take somebody through and how to hold space for someone to go through that, you're going to learn how to do that. And so then there's this other piece too. If you're an entrepreneur, going through the soul art certification is such a valuable tool that you will use again and again. Every launch you do, every new business plan you do, the branding that you go into, what you're offering, how you're setting up your website, if you're going to do a photo shoot for your own bio picture, learning what you want to express and how you want to put it out there, how you want to communicate, having your own soul's language coming through your career for your life. It's a huge ask. I use it every one of my launches, everything in my business goes through a soul art journey. All right, so there's many reasons to want to do the soul art certification. So see if you can identify within those. There's many, and I'm sure there's more I haven't even said, but there's a lot of reasons. It's a transformational, empowerment, embodiment, expressive, healing journey. All right, so the soul art certification is something that you'll learn a process. You're going to learn a proven process that takes you through healing and transformation. There are 10 classes in the soul art certification, 10 video classes with journal, workbook. And with each class, you have an assignment, you do the assignment, and you actually get personalized feedback. So it isn't an online program, but it's not like you're like on this online, you never talk to anyone, you never see anybody. It's like you are doing something and you have a sacred witnessing that, what you've done with your assignment, and giving you feedback to ensure that you actually get that process, that you get it, that you embody it, that you know it. So you're not led astray. Like you get to wow, I understand this. I have this map. I can use this map because I understand it. So you get feedback so that you can really, really learn and go as deep as you desire in the process. So there are 10 of these classes with a video, with the journal, and then you have an assignment. And then you'll have an exam at the end. And then if you complete that and you become certified. So with the soul art certification, technically, you could do it this summer. You could do it this summer and complete it. We are starting the soul art certification on June the 25th in a couple weeks, June the 25th. And you could technically complete the entire certification this summer if you wanted. You get to go at your own pace. But with the soul art certification, you have a year to work on it. You have a year to go through the process. And that's just to allow it to be real. Because life is life. And sometimes you're in the process and you're working on it, and then life is happening, and that isn't being included in what you're doing. Like you're having some conversations, say with your family, and it's weaving into your art process. And then you got to think about it for a while. And then the transformations need to happen. And so there's this whole, it's real. So you have an entire year to work on it. There's a year container for the journey. But because it is the 10 classes, you could do like a class a week. You could spend a couple hours a week and work on it. But I like to give that space so that you're not just trying to plow through. Go with your momentum, trust yourself, but go at your own pace as well. Okay, so the soul art certification, this year, we open this up once a year. We are opening it up this year, starting on June 25th. That's when our first day begins. And with the soul art certification, so you have the 10 classes, you go through them at your own pace. And, there's an email that goes out to kind of like keep you going. There's a momentum that's going. And one of the things that's included with the soul art certification is you also get access to Soul Art School, which is this epic kind of library of inspiration, right? It's like there's rituals, there's workshops, there's live things, and then we also have like a monthly where you can connect with other people in the community and talk, and I give feedback as well and insights for people. So there's a community. There's a thing that's happening. And so in a way, when we're in the certification, we're in our own flow we're in our process, but you're also part of a bigger community of people that are also in their journey. So we kind of come together in these community things in Soul Art School while the certification is in motion. So that is something that is included as a bonus. So I'm going to give you the link so you can investigate this page. And as I'm talking about it, you can also see, and there's information there. soulartcertification.com is where you can go to look at this. So we are starting on June the 25th. And between now and June 11th, there is an early bird savings with this, which is significant. So I, definitely check that out, the early bird savings. But something that I wanted to do to make this extra special today, and this is the special announcement. Well, it's a special announcement to open it because we do this only once a year. We open this up once a year and invite people in, and you're in sort of like that's your year of the people that you're with, and you're going along, and you meet other people in Soul Art School as well, but you're kind of in that groove. So we set up the container. So that's happening. That's an announcement in itself. I think a special announcement. But something that I wanted to do that was extra special to open up this year is I wanted to offer something that could really just like leapfrog the journey and just allow your creative spirit truly just to take flight, just feel that extra bit of support and feel like, the portal's opening for you and just getting that extra magic of energy for you and your journey. So something that I wanted to offer for the people who want to and are ready to sign up today on this day that we're opening up the registration, I am offering a private soul session. And you can be anywhere in the world because we can do this online, a private one-on-one soul session for the first 10 people that register for the Soul Art certification today. All right. Now, in this private soul session, this is where we get to connect and really go into what this journey is really about for you and create an epic activation for your leap, for your dreams to come into reality, right? Because really with the soul art work, a lot of it is mapping the channel, navigating the channel between spirit and form, right? Your soul, your higher self, your primal self. How does your soul exist here in this earth world? And you have a purpose, and your soul has a purpose on this planet. You have something that you're here to experience, evolve, express, and embody. And through you being you, you are bringing a contribution to this world. And it matters. It matters. It's not a silly little thing. It's not, it's real. It's the deepest thing. It's the deepest thing. It's the most meaningful thing. What you are here to be and bring to the world. And you bring to the world what you are, right? And so to do that, we need to be able to connect with who we truly are and to clear the things that aren't who you are, to allow you to illuminate in this world. So in a session together, a private one-on-one session, we will go in deep into that and and navigate what is going to be personalized to you. Navigate whether it is making that connection with your soul, like actually feeling like you know what it is and how to feel it and how to know it and how to hear your own intuition. That may be a layer that you're working with, or it may be that there is a deep healing that needs to happen so you feel safe to be yourself in this world. That may be a layer that you're working with. And I think that that's a layer that many of us have worked with or are working with, because I think that's part of what we're doing right now on the planet is we are transforming old, outdated ideas to bring more soul so more spirit can grow on earth. Right? Like, I think that if you're drawn to this type of work on some level, that's probably part of your purpose, is really bringing in those new light codes, bringing in that next frequency, bringing in the magic, bringing in the uniqueness, bringing that through into the ecosystem. But then that's also, it gets met with the world doesn't automatically value or understand or recognize it even. And so there's a lot of alchemy and transformation that we go through to bring our uniqueness to this world, right? And then that ties in also on the entrepreneurial level when you're wanting to create a career, a business, a life, being yourself. There will be layers to go through. And I think that's part of your service to the world is actually doing that healing work and doing that clearing, because as you bring more of yourself through, you're making that more possible on the planet. So in a private one-on-one session, this is where we get to go in and do that deeper work together and, get that activation for your journey. So that is something that I am offering to the first 10 people that register for the Soul Art certification today. So I invite you to check that out, soulartcertification.com. And just kind of going through a couple of questions we have received. People have already been emailing and asking questions about certification, like, some things I've already answered, like, well, when is it starting, right? Other questions that people have sent in are things about how long does it take to do it, right? And I kind of touched on that, but I'll just share a little bit more about kind of, well, what do you need to do it, right? So first, on the time factor, again, there are these 10 classes. You go at your own pace. You might find you might get on a roll, and you do a few classes in a row, and then you kind of like, okay, I just need to integrate, and then another few classes in a row. But if you wanted to kind of have a pacing to it, you could do a class a week. You could totally do a class a week and a couple hours for each class. So you could technically do a couple hours a week, and you could be done by the summer. But I think most people, you want to have a little spaciousness and breathing room. So on the time factor, it's like working with your life. What really in your life is going to match you. So, and there's however busy your life is, and I know everyone's got a lot going on, but there's always room for your soul. There's always room. And if there isn't, then that should be priority number one, because everything grows from that. And so even if you had an hour a month, you could do it. You could do it. An hour a month. But you might get really into it, like me. Like, you may notice here back in the studio, I'm going to be sharing more of this later, but I finished my piece from Soul Art Day. There are a few thousand sticks. You can imagine how long it took to do this. I worked all day on Soul Art Day and then also for a couple days after to create this. So the point of sharing that is that, and I will share what the final image looks like because you can only see a bit of it from this angle. But the point of saying that is you can kind of spend as much time or as little time in your art process as you desire, but don't be surprised if you get into it because it feels so good and it's so healing and so magical. But on the time factor to answer that question for whoever had that, I would say you could do a class a week if that's possible, or you could at least think of could I do 1 to 2 hours a month? And you totally could do it. But my guess is you probably will get into it and end up spending a bit more time on it. Other questions coming in around what supplies are needed, and do you need to be an artist, and do you need a huge studio or whatever? So no, you don't need a huge studio. When I started, I didn't have a studio, and then I did have a studio, but I used to have a little apartment type of thing. Then I got my first studio. But and then I didn't have that studio for a little while, and I had another little space. So this is what I have found, and I'm sure you can relate to this. Think of your purse or your handbag. Whatever size it is, you fit with it. You work with it. Like if I've got a little kind of handbag, I fill it with what I need. When I've got a bigger bag, I make more stuff. So I've got a big studio, so I'm going to make something really big. But if you have a kitchen table, you can work with it, right? You will be doing body mapping. You will be doing a full body map. You are going to get so deep into your body. If there's anything going on with your body, you are going to be learning about what's going on in the heart and the liver and the intestines and the legs and the face and the hair and the ears. It's your lymph nodes, you're going to learn about the mythology of your own body. So there will be a body map. But you can do it in pieces if you need to, meaning you could trace the body, but if you need to work on a section at a time, because that's what you can spatially work with, totally you can do it. Totally you can do that. So if you have a kitchen table and you have a space beside your bed where there's a space, you can do it. All right, so that's with that. And then with art supplies, you can work with any art supplies that you desire. You can paint, you can collage, you can do markers, you can do mixed media, you can do textile, you can do sticks, right? I think the most common would be painting and markers and collage. But I love seeing when someone, tries something different and new, and you can work with any art medium. And if you have a degree in fine arts like I do, then use your skills. But you actually don't need to have it. It's not about the technique. It is about the soul connection. And that soul connection brings through a current through you. And that current is the expression. That is the base of your uniqueness. And then with whatever skill you have, you work with that current, your soul current, right? So you don't need to have skills of technique. But if you do, then you're going to be able to take your art in that direction with the skills that you have. But I often find for myself, I'm kind of often unlearning a lot of things to just allow the purity to come through. So I hope that answers that question. And with the soul art certification, there actually are 4 levels. There's actually 4 levels. What this opening is for level 1, to begin. And level 1 is body mapping. Right? And you will learn the body mapping process. If you choose, and a lot of people like to, have that knowing, it's wow, you really can go very far and deep with this. If you choose, you can go through other levels at the time that is ready for you, if you are called to do that. But this is for level 1 for body mapping. All right. And there are people all over the world, and that excites me. And I really think that imagine, getting this into the school systems. Imagine children having access to this, hearing what their body is saying from a young age, teenagers, elderly people, being able to access their story, almost do a memoir. A whole soul art journey could be like a memoir, or, to really see the legacy. So whatever age, imagine around the world in the different cultures and utilizing these processes. I mean, it's incredible. So if you are called, if you hear and see and sense an opening within yourself that this is something that can elicit your next level. I invite you to act on that. That is one of the ways that you bring spirit through. When you hear an intuitive guidance that is coming from in you, you are getting the spark of inspiration. That is your soul speaking to you. And the way that we start to heal that channel and value that and bring our own current through more and more and more is we honor that. Honor your intuitive guidance. Honor the insights that you get. It's like, I need to do that. I don't even know why I need to do that, but I need to do that. Or it's like, I know I want to do that because this is the path that I want to take. And I want to develop my art. I want to develop my career. I want to do this. So I invite you to join the Soul Art certification for 2025. Join this year. We're opening it today. We officially start on June the 25th. And the early bird savings, which is on right now until June 11th. And for the first 10 people that register and sign up today, I am gifting you with a private one-on-one session for us to go in and activate the next big leap and breakthrough for you, for your thriving life. All right. So I am just so excited about this. I feel like we are at a massive alchemical transformational point on the planet. And there is definitely a lot of challenge that comes with a time like what we are in. The challenge doesn't need to be feared, but more recognizing what is the spiritual opportunity and assignment within it. What is the deeper desire that wants to come through these challenges? And many of us are here to seed the new paradigm at this time. To seed the new paradigm at this time where the creative energy is valued, is utilized in the creation of the world, where belief systems are evolving to be more in alignment with our soul, like bringing heaven on earth, right? It's not like a religious thing, but that idea of like the divine, bringing divinity here, that's, in my view, the new paradigm. And so if you are, you're one of those people, you're here to seed that new paradigm and be an embodied expression of soul on this planet, illuminating, bringing your gifts through. This is definitely for you. This is an alchemical space for you to remember your true self and bring it into your life and expression and embodiment. So I invite you to join us for the Soul Art Certification 2025. We're starting on June 25th, early bird until June 11th, and the first 10 people to sign up, I'm gifting you with a private session. All right. I can't wait to dive into this journey with you. Can't wait to get started. I'm sending you so much love. Thank you for joining me today and listening to this. And I look forward to connecting with you again in the Soul Art Certification. Sign up.